Alright guys, today we have an Ana VOD, which I'm very excited about, seeing as how Ana's my most played character and favorite character. This player is in gold 5, so I really feel like we could have won this if I played smarter around the beginning and the end. Positioning could use a lot of work. Always trying to find a balance, trying to find a way to balance damage and healing. So looking forward to this one. With Ana in gold, kind of actually, I think you can do this at any rank. Well, besides like the general support idea of like staying alive being the most important thing, which I think is pretty self-explanatory, right? That's probably my biggest advice to supports in all ranks, right? Is like find ways to minimize the chances you have to die, right? But for Ana specifically, you have like a lot more impact over this game than you think. So sleep and nade are two of the biggest cooldowns in the game, and if you're able to hit those when you need to, like one good nade can completely turn a fight, or actually just straight up like win you the fight. Sleep can shut down ultimates, and then you really you can do a lot of damage on Ana, believe it or not. So you need to be healing enough to keep your teammates alive, but you don't need to be like top. Like if you're Roadhog 650 health and there's like enemies in front of you you can be shooting, you can shoot the enemies. So don't be a heal bot is basically what I'm trying to say, but we haven't even seen the gameplay, so let's do that first. I think this position's okay. Like nothing's happened, right? I think this position's okay. You can see your team very well, and if your team wants to hold at this choke, this is a good spot for you. You do have to be careful of people getting long angles on you, right? So just for an example, like this could be dangerous, but I like the position, especially since on high ground you can always just back up and be pretty safe here, and you can dip to point really quickly. So I think your position here is good. Widow just took a shot at you, so you should be avoiding the Widow now. Yep. Good reposition. Okay. So you're set up in this like really strong position to hit an anti-nade, right? Because if they walk through here, this would be absolutely huge. But until that happens, you really need to focus on keeping your team alive, right? So you don't really have that many people to shoot. And so like shooting the bubble when, you know, you have people at half HP, or you even looked at the Ashe and just didn't shoot her when she was critical. So you need to be trying to keep like this Ashe alive, and if you can see the Lucio, keep him alive, but it looks like he is going to do his own thing. Right, so right now you should be keeping people alive, but when your cooldowns come back, I mean, this is a huge ante if you can hit it when they walk through. So you're down 2, your Lucio just goes in and dies, nothing you can do about that. And then your Junk dies as well, and your Junk died, I think, Henri. Yeah, I don't think you can really save him, right? I mean, he's nowhere near the tank, and so at this point, you need to make a play, right? And it's hard for you because although Ana can make plays, she does need like a team to follow up on her purples, but you're down 2 and you want to make a play to be able to take this fight. So you're focused on the monkey, but like if you come here and you just throw your nade right here, you have Ashe shooting. Your hog is somewhere. Okay, your hog is useless, but you know, maybe you can get a kill here if you throw a nade and you and your Ashe maybe can clean up here. Huge nade, that's great. It's time to leave. Yep, all the way out. Just leave. Just leave, just leave. And you shouldn't be peeking this Widow right here, you know, so you should be here where you can, you know, look down this sight line, or even just basically anywhere the Widow can't shoot, right? Because if you die here and your team wants to go back in, they can't. I also don't love that nade that you threw at the Widow. It's not a huge deal though. Good nade. There's not going to be any follow-up on it, but not too much you can do about that. So I like the aggressive nades, right? I like how you're throwing them at the enemy team, and it's a really good thing to do. You really don't want to have to use that nade defensively, but you need to pick a time where it's possible to follow up. So you're throwing these just a little early, right? Like your team's not really ready to go in right here. I mean, you've got 2 people, but your Sojourner's nowhere near, and your Reaper's not going to be able to get here, right? So if you just wait a couple more seconds and then toss this nade, if you hit them, maybe your team can even follow up, but this one feels a little early. Get your nade back up in 1 second. I want to see you try and get in and get a kill with that. Okay. So far, your ideas all are pretty good. You're trying to throw your nade aggressively. You just got caught out of position there. But you're trying to throw your nades aggressively, right? And you're mostly saving your sleep for when you actually need it, which is good. I have seen like a couple of positional things where you're kind of standing in front of a Widow or whatever it may be, but nothing too terrible yet. Alright, so you don't really have that much impact that fight, and it's, you know, your Reaper killed all of them, so there's not too much to say, but your team's about to go in right now, right? Your Reaper's dropping in, your Lucio's going in, and you're a little bit distracted back here with...
Keep fighting.
And then you miss your shots, and I'm not going to talk about mechanics, right? It just is what it is. You win for the Reaper ult, but you want to be supporting that ult with your cooldowns, right? So you want to be throwing your nade at your ulting Reaper, or spamming heal at your ulting Reaper, or trying to sleep people next to him, you know, stuff like that, which didn't really happen. And, you know, if that Reaper was getting focused, it would be way harder for him to live without any support. This fight gets cleaned up, no big deal. In general, I think your positioning here is okay. You know, you have like these angles back here too if you want them, but it's much easier to get isolated back here. Like if Monkey jumps in here and he drops bubble in this choke, it's going to be really hard for you to do anything except run or die. So yeah, I think this is fine. You have actually more escape options because you can kite back here, or you could even go up here, right? This is a great nade angle. If your team is fighting here, if you have the time to walk up here and throw this nade, it's good. Yep, getting aggressive. Love to see that. I want you to... Okay, so that was a good kill. I want you to try and throw sleep here, you know, if Bubble dies. It's good. You know, if you get lucky and you hit him, boom, you just sit, you know, maybe save your team. And if you don't, then you were probably going to die anyways from Visor. So if Bubble go down, I want you to throw your sleep. Your team kind of get out pressured, and you know, for what it's worth, you three live. You get here and you live, but your Orisa doesn't live, and then you get snowballed. You sleep the primal, but it's already too late. I would have liked to see just like an attempt, right? Just kind of chuck it in there. If you hit him, you curb a lot of that aggression. But you guys kind of got steamrolled this fight anyways. They have a ton of ults, so there wasn't really going to be too much you could do about that fight. Generally speaking, when the enemy team has more ults than you, you need to identify a win condition, right? So you know, what do we have that can help us win, and then you need to use that win condition to win before the enemy popped all their ults. But in a gold game, it's not super realistic that your team is coordinated, stuff like that. So there's only like things that you can individually think about. And in gold, I don't expect you to ult track either, which is why in general it's just better for you to save your sleep so you can react to the ult instead of trying to think, you know, when does everyone have ult. But if you do want a little more advanced advice, tracking the ults that you can impact are really good. So if you think about their team right now, you can sleep Primal and deny all the value. You can sleep Reaper ult, and he's really easy to sleep in his ult, right? Because he's very slow. You can sleep Visor to deny the whole value, and you can sleep Coalescence to cancel it. So that's 4 ults where sleep literally shuts it down. And so I don't expect you to be tracking 4 ults. But maybe if you just try and track 1, right? If you just think about, well, does Reaper have it? Because if you sleep Reaper, you could win team fights like that. That's something you might think about. But in gold, there's a lot of other stuff you can think about as well. You don't have to ult track to improve necessarily. Good anti-nade, but you've already kind of dropped the ball in this fight, right? Like right here, you have nade, and if you think your team is going to die, it is okay to use nade defensively. So normally, it's just like anti, that's all you want to do. But if your team is going to die and you can save them with nade, you need to use it. Right, and so you're kind of sitting in window, and you're not able to hit shots on any of your team. And then they all just kind of die. You die too. At that point, I'd say just jump down on cart and die quicker because you're not going to get out there. But you get staggered a little bit. It happens.
You'll have to try harder than that.
You're kind of getting steamrolled right now. Not too much to say, really. You have nano. You want to use it before the end of the game. So the only thing I would say is that if you're going to be ending the round with nano anyways, you should at least try and find some spot to dump it. So your team kept staggering. It was really hard for you to even find someone to nano, right? Reaper kind of team wiped your whole team, and then you don't really even get to peek anyone here, right? But if we go back, wow, this thing's really jumpy. Even right here, you know, you have a high charge Zarya and a Reaper alive, and you just hit a big purple, right? I guess it's only one, but still. Even if you can just dump nano here, you might be able to change the tide of this fight. High charge nano Zarya in gold is insane, especially if you're pocketing, right? So if you hit that nano and then you sit here and you just spam into that Zarya, it's gonna be really good. But yeah, there's not too much to even say this first round. You guys get stomped pretty hard, and there's not too much that you can do about a stomp like that. Okay, Joker Queen. Kind of getting gate kept here. Yep. Good sleep. Good kill. Nice try. You know, you realize that your Mercury is gonna die. You tried to save him. I like that. I want to see you get a little more aggressive here. Huge. I mean, huge. This is fight winning stuff. This is actually fight winning stuff. You force fade, and you anti basically everyone here. If you continue to do stuff like this, you will win fights simply because of this. All right, so I want you to try and do damage here after you hit that nade, right? So you need pressure. You hit your nade, and then I want you to kind of go after these targets. So anyone you can see, your Roadhog is gonna live, right? He's gonna live. He gets vape in 3 seconds. So I want to see you try and go for a little more aggressive angles there. know, keep your teammates alive, but otherwise focus on damage. Good, right? Right? Good. Super good. Awesome. Do that more often, right? If your soldier wasn't shooting at this guy, you would have killed him. And that alone can win you fights. So, I really like what I'm seeing this round. Your teammate dies while you have nade. I think you could have prevented it, but, you know, it is what it is. Alright, he walks out of your line of sight. There's really no way you can save him. This one might just be unfortunate. The fight is not lost yet, however. You have the discipline to not use your nade on yourself, which is good. You know, trying to use it on the enemy. And they die, and then you guys are going to win this fight. Notice how their BAP just got back from when you killed him, you and your soldier, right? And he wasn't able to contribute to that entire fight, so... I think you make a lot of good plays this first fight. I don't really have too much to complain about. I actually like your play. Good anti. But your positioning is really bad right now. Okay. Nice sleep. But you kind of deserve to die. So you were standing right here. You know, like literally right in front of where the enemy was. So this is like what the enemy sees, right? You just, I mean, you should die here, and in higher elo you will die. So you don't, there's no need to be here. You could be in here. This is where you were kind of stuck, but if you can, even getting back here, much safer. And this should have cost you your life, but instead you get a good anti, and you hit a pretty insane sleep. You need to follow up on the sleep. Yeah, go for one more shot. Come on. Alright, and you drop the kill. That's just a mechanics thing, but you should be going for those kills. And this is not good, right? Their whole team is here. Your team is here too, but you are super split, and I think you're gonna die here. I haven't watched this VOD yet, but I think you're just gonna die. And if you do, it's gonna make your team be at a pretty huge disadvantage, especially since you have nano. But so far your gameplay is pretty good. Your positioning is a little off, and the one thing I do want to like really note is that your mechanics are going to hold you back a little bit. So you don't have to have perfect mechanics to climb on Ana, but from what I have seen, you're missing quite a lot. So you're missing a lot of nades and missing a lot of shots on your team, and that will hold you back in the future. So you're gonna have to work on that if you want to climb to high ranks with Ana. And they are just absolutely brain dead. They don't realize you're here, and you should get a huge nade. You're just standing behind them, and they have no idea. So if you nade and hit 2 shots on a 200 HP hero, they die. So you have a chance to get a kill here. Honestly, I like the idea. It just didn't work out. You didn't get far enough, back off the ledge that you didn't die there. But it was a good idea, trying to get the kill. Honestly, I'm okay with it. I just think you probably, had the opportunity to get out there, and you go for the flank, which isn't the end of the world. Let's see. I actually want to see what happens to this fight. So Bob cleans up. That's all she wrote. Nothing really to note here. They have a Zarya now, which means they can cleanse your bubbles. Before they had no cleanse, which was kind of your optimal situation. But now that they have Zarya, you should be thinking about how many bubbles does the Zarya have, and be trying to save your anti for when the Zarya doesn't have a ton of bubbles. Your team does it for you. Sweet. Going for the sleep is good. You should have gone for the nade though, right? Like, so your Ashe is gonna die. And she gets 2-tapped. Nothing you can do to save him. But now you know he's up here. You have this nice backdrop here to hit a nade. So imagine if that was your nade. Imagine if you threw a nade when he did that. Boom. He's dead. But you throw sleep. You save yourself with nade. He dies anyways, but you're out of the fight. You have Nano Visor here. You also should get a big nade. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't love this, especially this positioning. You're like really out of place here. You're the only one the enemy team can see, right? Like the only one. Your whole team has disengaged because of this window. You need to disengage too. And you pretty much never want to be the enemy's focus. So you should be like here. Or like, I mean, you don't love this, right? You really don't love being here, but it's still better than where you are. So you're going to die here. And you also nano the hog to keep him alive, I guess. But he was going to live anyways, right? So you should have just nanoed the soldier. Right, like he has vape and you had nade. He could have survived without nano.
You'll have to try hard.
You get back. The fight's actually still going on, but not really. Good anti. All right. You see this? Like you look at them up here, and you can check and see he has ult. So I want you to be trying to support this ult with your cooldowns. And so I think you just actually use both of them, right? But you'll get your nade back in time. So I want you to be doing what you can to support this Reaper ult, because a supported Reaper ult in this elo is just a team wipe 90% of the time. That's huge. You should be doing damage here. Small criticism, right? But you don't need to heal the 60 HP he's missing. You know, if you hit 2 or 3 shots on the Zarya with the rest of your team, maybe she's dead. Alright, pretty decent fight. I wish you would have helped the Reaper out a little bit more, but you were kind of focused on the Zarya, which means you weren't able to like position up here in time to help. Yeah, not a whole lot to say. Your team just kind of wipes them with ults. You don't really do anything that fight, right? Like you throw a couple of antis, you don't really hit though, and then your team kind of wins without you doing anything. So you don't really have impact in this fight.
Need to move the payload. Long-range takedown
Awesome.
confirmed.
Honest, actually one of the best characters to kill a Pharah. It's only 3 shots to kill in your hit scan, which means you have no travel time on your gun. And she's like slow moving through the sky, so you should always be going for Pharahs when you see her. And you do, and you get the kill, and that's great. Going for damage, I like it. Going for an aggressive anti-nade, I like it. You missed, but you tried. That's what counts. And now you should be trying to reposition up. In fact, I think you should have repositioned up a little bit ago. But you're not going to be able to see anything, which means you're not going to be able to do anything. And I think now you realize it, right? It's very obvious now that like there's nothing left for me to do here. It's time to reposition. This is great. I love this. I actually love this. This is huge. And do this more often. You do need to keep your team alive, right? It is your job to keep your team alive. But getting in angles like this and throwing nades will win you games. It will just win you games. Too bad there was no follow-up, right? I mean, that was super nice. You actually only get one again, right? But this, I mean, you're just inches away from getting both supports plus the DPS. If you were able to shoot this guy even one time, he dies. And you might have gotten lamp out too. No lamp, right? But if anybody hits that guy one time, he's dead. And that's just a pick in the beginning of the fight. Alright. Kitsune Rush plus Suzu plus Nade plus Nano actually keeps everybody alive. It's a little scary to use a Nano in a Grav, because if your whole team gets wiped, you waste Nano, but it ends up working out, and it is a judgment call. Sometimes it's worth it. And now I guess we get to watch the fight from here. So you're in a pretty good position to hit nades, especially, like, again, if you walk here, this is great. So we're going to see what's happening, because it's kind of ult dump from both teams right now. I'd love to see you throw a nade here. You're kind of lost, right? It's been 5 seconds. You haven't done anything. So you need to make up your mind and do something, because your team is dying and their team is dying, and you're not doing anything. All right, your team cleans up for you. You kind of saved them in that grab, and then you did nothing the whole fight. So work on trying to do something, because I think this position is good. And I think you can make a huge impact from here, but you were just very undecisive about what you wanted to do. And it led to you not doing anything, right? And having no impact, which is basically the worst case scenario. And you kind of get lucky again, where your team just wins without you, so. This position's okay. You're very safe. But it might be hard to hit your team from here, so. You know, I think there's other good positions you can play. Not here. I don't know why I'm over here, but it's easier for you to die here, but at least you can kind of move around and see things easier. So you're not using sleep. I haven't seen a sleep in a long time. I've seen very few sleeps this round. And it looks like you're saving it to kind of save yourself, right? Like when you need it to save yourself, but you should be going for these sleeps when, you know, when Visor is happening, or when Reaper is ulting, or when Monkey is ulting, or when Coalescence is happening. You should be going for these sleeps, even if they're low success rate, you know, low chance of success. It's better than, you know, not using it and then dying. So you make a positional mistake here. There was no need to die to this. This is when you hear it. This is where you're standing, right? And you are just so safe right here. There's so many like places you can go to live. And you throw a grenade and then you run out in the middle of the open, don't use your sleep and die. So positional mistake cost you your life. You were probably gonna lose that fight anyways. But you're caught out there and you die for it.
30 seconds remaining.
And your DPS go huge again, and they gotta win the fight without you doing anything. So there's kind of a recurring trend where you don't really do anything and then your team wins. And there was a lot of fights actually where I liked what you were doing, you know, where you were getting aggressive kills, looking for picks, you know, throwing your nade in good spots. A lot of things that I liked, but there was a lot of fights, you know, 3 or 4 fights where your team wins, where you had no impact, where you maybe heal a couple people the whole fight and that's all you do. So look to be doing good things more often, right? All right, final round. Set up the same as the first round. Let's see what goes wrong here, what you could have done about it. Good sleep. You waste your nade? I mean, your hog was fine, right? You panicked a little bit. Man, imagine just imagine if you could throw that nade right in here. Holy. But you don't have it, so. And you're not, you know, when your hog does need healing, you're shooting the shield. You shoot the shield 3 times, you know, and your hog dies because of it. You try and turn to him, but it's just too late, and he's dead. And that's all it takes. Now it's over, right? And so that one mistake where you're not really shooting what you need to be shooting there. All right, 1 shot, 2, 3. And to be fair, like your hog is, you know, not in an ideal situation. You know, this isn't what you want your hog to be doing. But he hits hook, and if you have nade here, or if you're even just shooting him instead of the shield, you could have so much more impact. You could keep your hog alive. You know, maybe you could win this. But you're shooting the wrong thing. You don't have your cooldowns when you need them. Your tank dies because of it, and the rest of your team gets snowballed. And that's the entire game, right? All right, so let's recap this game a little bit. Let's think about what we're doing right and what we're not doing right, and what we can improve on, stuff like that. So you're throwing good anti-nades, and this is huge. Good anti-nades win you fights, especially like if you're repeatedly hitting people with anti-nades, they will start to get like really frustrated really fast. You've probably been on the receiving end of this at some point where your team is just like constantly purple, and there's just no way you can win when your team can't get healed. So this is good, right? You're throwing your nades aggressively, which is what you should be doing. But you're not always in a good position to do it, right? So your positioning does need work. Let's just put a little X by it, right? Because I don't want to spell the whole thing. But your positioning feels like you're in front of your team too much, or you're kind of staring at the enemy when you don't need to be. And you do die a couple times because of it, which could lose your team the fight. And has, like that last fight. Well, that wasn't positioning, but we'll get to that. But like that fight where they use window and coalescence, you're just kind of staring at them and you're just nowhere near where you need to be. So your positioning needs a lot of work. You want to be behind your team. And occasionally you can take these like short flank angles where you can throw nade. And you want to, these flank angles, you want them to be short so that your team doesn't die when you go throw the nade, right? So if your team dies when you go to throw your anti, it doesn't matter. Your team is dead. It doesn't matter. So like short flanks, throwing nade, and you know, maybe trying to get a kill or two and then going back to your team, that's okay if they live. But if it causes your team to die, it's not good, right? And so like when you were fighting on first point on attack, you went like way up behind the enemy team and you went for a kill and you died for it because you kind of didn't need to be there, right? When they let you live, you should just take it and go back to where your team is. So your positioning needs a lot of work. And then target priority. I saw this, you know, most notably at the end, but throughout the VOD too, there were some times where like at the first point attack or first point defense, you're shooting the Winston shield when your Ashe was critical, and it didn't cost your Ashe her life, but it can, and it will in the future. So when someone is critical, you need to be healing them, including like throwing your nade at them. If you have to nade them to live, you have to nade them to live. And so you can't be scared to do that. I know you want to use your nade offensively, but you need to keep your team alive. And then your sleep dart usage. I feel like you're just not using it, right? I feel like I did not see very much sleep dart. So we will put use more. It's good to have it when you need it, right? To save yourself. But to know when you need it, you first have to be like tracking ults and tracking cooldowns to know when you need it. And if you're like playing into a dive, of course you have to save your sleep dart more just to live. But when you're playing out these like brawling matches where you're not getting focused in these fights, you should be trying to sleep whatever ults they're using, or you know, if you can sleep their tank in front of your team, you can get a whole bunch of damage off, right? So position better. use your sleep dart more, and focus targets a little better. All of these, lots of room to improve. You know, staying behind your team, throwing sleep when they're ulting, shooting the people that need healing the most. This will get you a long way. And then after you get these basic things, then you can go think about ult tracking. Then you can go think about cooldown tracking, right? Like how many bubbles does Zarya have? If I anti her, can she bubble? Has Kiriko use Suzu? Things like that. So once you get these three things, you can move up to more advanced levels of thought. And then as like just a small note, right? Aiming practice. It's boring. It's optional, but your aim could use a little bit of work if you want to move up. It's not the worst I've ever seen. And most of the time you're hitting shots when it matters, but there is definitely room to improve on your mechanical level. So, yep, good game. I got this replay code off of my Discord. If you guys want to get your VODs reviewed, be sure to drop into my Discord. There will be a link in the description, and then you can post your replay codes to my VOD review channel, and I will get around to it. That's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and more importantly, I hope you guys learned something today, and I'll catch you in the next one.